Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we're going to be welcoming back the CEO of SATO Technologies. This is one of the smaller scale Bitcoin miners that I cover on the channel regularly. I'm super excited to get an update from the CEO, talk about this organization in light of the bull run we're seeing from Bitcoin over the last few weeks. Now before we get into all that, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join. And let me know in the comment section below if you're currently holding shares of SATO, what your thoughts are on the Bitcoin mining space as a whole, and your price prediction for Bitcoin going into next year's halving event. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right, back by popular demand, we have the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of SATO Technologies, Romain Nouzareth, here to join us and give us an update on his organization. Now, similar to Matt from CleanSpark, Romain was just in Dubai talking with some of the banking and financial community about the Bitcoin mining sector as a whole, so we're really excited to get an update and really appreciate your time being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Great.
I'm indeed coming back from Dubai, so it was a great show called AIM. And it's interesting because it's a 2-day conference. One day we're talking about like a macro discussion and different kind of investment strategies, not only Bitcoin, not only crypto, not only mining. And it's really interesting because it opens up, you know, your vision of how investors think that we're going into not only for investment, but also the world to some extent. The next day, the second day is more Bitcoin miners, and lots of Bitcoin miners were there, CleanSpark, as you said.
Great, and from my understanding, it was a lot of institutional, financial type of customers and clients there. Is that correct, Romain?
Yeah, that's correct. The market is coming back. We feel this effervescence, you know, or this spark around like what we do, but also AI and HPC, and also the kind of like technological investment. And then we really see like a resurgence of interest into what we do. And Bitcoin mining is a great proxy. I mean, publicly listed miners like us, we're a great proxy to Bitcoin. We're a great proxy to the ETF that is coming. And we see like interest coming from lots of sources. So it's really great, and it's comprehensible when you look at it because Bitcoin is like 30% increase of price. So yep.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you're always welcome back, and I'm glad it was a great time over there. We were just talking before we started filming about the name of your company, SATO Technologies, and I didn't draw the connection with Satoshi, and you were just explaining that to me, so I'm just chuckling about that. But back to kind of the update here, Romain. I know it's been a couple of months since we've had you on. I know you guys launched some new digital initiatives over the past few months. We're starting to see an uptick in ordinal activity as well on the blockchain. So can you give us a quick update on your operations and maybe some of those new digital developments since our last chat?
Well, in terms of operation, it's very simple. We are operators, we are infrastructure people, we are running 20 megawatts of energy at full capacity, a little bit less than 0.6 exahash of mining power. That's our center number one. Now we are focused at finding new growth sources. So it's the data centers, Bitcoin miners who are already running PPAs. There are opportunities everywhere. So the best way to be able to address this market and to grow into capacity is to be able to identify the right targets. And this is where we are into. And this is also where I think we would excel and where we are excelling in finding the right project, because, you know, it's a knowledge. I'm not saying we are the only one having it, but it's not something that you can really invent or decide you have. You will learn by doing it, and we've been doing it for the past 6 years. So we know what kind of growth and what kind of project we want to choose. And we also have something in our hands that is exceptional, which is a publicly listed company. We have a vehicle, a Ferrari, if you will, that is very fast at raising money when the market is in boom. Are we there yet? Question mark. I think we never know when we are in the bull at the beginning of the bull. We think we are in the bull only in the future, which at that time in the past. We can say, oh yeah, 6 months ago, the bull started right now when we were in Dubai, for example. So we don't really know. We feel we are getting there. We feel the ETF is news is coming. We feel more and more people being focused on Bitcoin. So it's really going in the right direction. And at the same time, we have AI and HPC. It was also a topic of discussion in Dubai because the need, as you know, is growing everywhere. And we believe, as we discussed last time, that the approach of mixing Bitcoin mining and AI and HPC is the right approach to manage electricity at scale. So I think these two sectors, these two areas are still growing like crazy, and that's why we're seeing way more interest into what we are doing, mainly when we develop infrastructure like us. On top of that, we have something that is interesting that is happening, and you mentioned like ordinals a few minutes ago, but it's interesting to see the kind of like developments that can be happening on Bitcoin right now, because we have a new way of creativity, programmatic activity, where people develop and build on Bitcoin. So the fact that we see this ordinal starting like 8 months ago, and I think a few days ago, Elon Musk said that he was a fan of ordinals. So it's interesting to see that the market is also in there, but it's not only ordinals; it's everything behind ordinals. You have like new technologies, federation, for example, where you can federate different kind of users into. It's about the question is about how do you do L2 type of transaction, or how do you have a network of transactions that is faster, simpler, easier, that can not be built on Bitcoin on the 10 minutes block, that can do this. So this kind of what we call L2s are developing, going to the right direction, and it's interesting because it's bringing a new way of people to use Bitcoin on a day-to-day basis, which is good for the industry. It's good for Bitcoin. It's good for Bitcoin miners, because anyway, as Bitcoin miners, we have fees and transactions of the transactions. The more transaction in the L1 exists, the more fees we will make in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate the detail there. And I wanted to talk about, you mentioned the bull run, and it's hard to understand if we're in that right now or just a kind of a bear trap, but it definitely feels like we're getting there. And we've seen some appreciation in Bitcoin price. Obviously the ETF, I think the general consensus is kind of we should have that by Christmas. How is that really impacting your HODL strategy? I know a lot of the miners just reported their October numbers. We've really seen a divergence. There's some companies like CleanSpark, for example, that are trying to aggressively HODL everything they can. There's other companies that have come out like Iris Energy, for example, and said, we do not want to HODL any Bitcoin. We want to treat this as a gold or oil producer and sell everything we create as we create it. Where do you see SATO Technologies fitting into that decision?
Well, like before, I mean, we've been through this before, this kind of timing where the halving is coming, where the market is booming and or not booming, maybe a bear trap. We've seen it. It's too late to decide at the last minute. You need to have the strategy in place and and use that at every time. The strategies that we have is relatively new in a way, because before July we were doing part of hosting, part of self-mining. Now we are 100% self-mining. So that's why you can see, and we are publishing also our monthly results from our website, and it's also available on Twitter from many analysts. But what you could see is that we are selling more Bitcoin, because now this is the only source of revenue we have, and we still have to pay for electricity and everything. But the strategies that we had in the past and that we still have is to be opportunistic, in a sense that we still need to sell Bitcoin to grow and continue growing, but also HODL as much as we can, because we're a long-term believer into Bitcoin, and history proved us right. In 2017, the Bitcoin was not at the price we have today. But at the same time, I think your stock of Bitcoin it's also interesting to see it as a way to go. We have different ways to go. We have debt. we have equity, and we have what we mine. So we need to be opportunistic to be able to take the right decision at the right time, which is what we did, for example, or what we hope we did last time when we acquired our miners back in July. We bought at an extremely great price per T for the miners that were already running into our centers.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, the miner purchase, because I wanted to talk about that too. We've started to see some of the other companies get into the S21 series, some of the more efficient rigs in preparation for halving. There's also some interesting debate going on that post-halving, maybe the global hash rate will actually reduce by 20-30% as some of the old legacy rigs are unplugged. So what is your strategy there? Are you continuing to acquire new rigs? What's your hash rate goal by halving? And can you speak to us a little bit about that?
Well, in the same ways, and we've seen it before, we also saw what's happening after halving and the kind of like market you can be in once a bull market is at full speed. And I guess that if in terms of exahash or mining or joule per T, if you want to compare or use this kind of a comparison, we have miners. We bought miners that are in the high range of the efficiency. But what is important in the business is not only the efficiency on the miners. Everyone can buy efficiency. It's simple. You buy S21. But at the end, the one who succeeds is the one who can provide efficiency at the other parts of the business, which is running the data centers the right way and operating the right way, with the most important thing always, the price of your electricity. And to come back to your question, the price of electricity or the price of electricity Bitcoin miner pay will decide when they stop mining. Because usually in the business, what we've seen before, I'm not saying it's always the case, but what we saw usually, Bitcoin miners start unplugging their miners when the cost of electricity is higher than what they mine. Because in that case, you need every month, you need to put your money, if you don't have lots of cash in front of you, you need to put your money into buying your electricity. So will we see a decrease in hash rate? It's possible. It's possible that the miners, bigger miners, smaller miners who are running inefficient miners will start unplugging. I think it might also be, and it has been also the case in the past, it's never aligned with the price of the Bitcoin. You can see a price of the Bitcoin staying the same or even going down. We are in a bear trap. And Bitcoin miner continuing mining, losing money.
Yeah.
But eventually, some people will stop and we will see a decrease, except if the price of the Bitcoin continues to go up.
And that's definitely our hope.
It's difficult to predict.
Now, in terms of equipment, do you have any additional purchase orders planned between now and halving?
We have not announced anything right now. We are at full capacity in our center, and one of the reasons of success of Bitcoin miners is also to be able to use their mining rigs on the long run, because when they are fully paid, this is also where they are making the most money. It's a long tail gain, we say often. So right now we are more focused on finding new growth sites, and then finding the right rigs at the right price. It's always something that is very much difficult in our business. It's to align timing, financing, and electricity. And that's why when the market is in bull, what we have seen in the past is that miners are becoming more difficult to buy, they are longer to get, and the price is going high. So it's true that today the right strategy is to be able to have rigs ready to run, but it's also a nightmare of the Bitcoin miner is to have rigs in boxes. You want to buy them and make them plug them to make Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act, to say the least. Now, the other question I have, I know we talked about your transition from hosting to self-mining in our last video, and you just made a great point that anyone can go out and buy an S19 or an S21 or whatever, but there's a lot more in terms of the software, the operations of the data center that goes into the overall efficiency. So can you speak to us a little bit about that transition to self-mining? Did it work out as planned? Were there any unexpected surprises or learnings that kind of came out of that?
Well, the only thing we didn't know at that time was the price of the Bitcoin after the acquisition. But what we were looking at is what is the inflection point at which it makes more sense to do self-mining rather than continuing doing hosting. And because you never know about what the Bitcoin will be at some time, at some point you need to take a decision and you do it. And we've been able to mine 100% our own Bitcoin since then, which is great for us because it's really putting us into a different kind of Bitcoin miners. By doing like 100% self-miners, we also pretend being in the top publicly listed miners out there. Yes, we are a small one, but we really want to grow as fast as we can and following the same trajectories and the other ones. I mean, it's really exceptional what's happening, and I believe we'll be able to follow that path. So yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, it is exceptional. The global hash rate just continues to rise, and it seems like there's so much activity going on a daily and weekly basis. Now, the next question, Romain, is actually from one of the subscribers, and there's kind of been a debate in the community. You mentioned the size of your organization is on the smaller size. There's kind of two schools of thought. One is the larger companies have stronger balance sheets. They can kind of weather the storm better if we see some volatility or post-halving. The other side of the argument is the smaller miners have the ability to be just as efficient, and they're a little bit more nimble because they can kind of pivot more quickly. So can you talk to us a little bit about that as a CEO of one of the smaller miners, and how do you feel that is either an opportunity or a risk going into halving?
It's a difficult question in a sense that nobody has the answer. If you listen to the big ones, they will tell you only the biggest survive. I think it's more like the more efficient survive, and we talked about it, I think, last time, and I still believe this is the case. So it's at the end, focus on your efficiency, show to the market what kind of revenues you can make, what kind of net profit you can make. And I think this is a season of Q3 results. So we'll be publishing our results also in a few, I mean, before, I can't really tell a date until it's announced, but it's going to happen anyway before end of November, which is a date at which we have to do it. But I think it's at the end, you need to just follow your efficiency, make the most of Bitcoin of what you have in front of you, and we'll see.
Great. And you mentioned the end of November as kind of a date to watch for Q3. Another date we're watching for in the community is the spot ETF approval. So in your opinion, Romain, are we going to see that before Christmas, or do you think that'll be into 2024?
Honestly, I have no idea. It could be both, or it could be also never. We should also keep that in mind. We could have a bad surprise against us. And you know what? No more Bitcoin ETF. It could also happen. For us, I mean, it's gonna be a good news because we believe that Bitcoin is really gonna increase in price when it happens. It's also a good news for the long term, at least for the next 2 years, because I think they will all need also to deploy their capital. It's not going to be in one day. It's going to take time for them to raise more money, to go more and buy more and buy more. It's very interesting because we also have the halving coming. So as you've seen today, the volatility and the volume on Bitcoin is very low, and there's a lot of Bitcoins that have been put out of exchanges. Also, probably mainly because most of the exchanges have been closed, like FTX and the like. So it creates even more scarcity on the volume of the number of Bitcoin being exchanged every day. We have the halving coming, and at the same time, we're going to have the ETF, if it happens, buying more and more. So I think we might see also like something never seen before in terms of the Bitcoin price increase. Will it happen at the time of the halving, before the halving, after the halving? We'll see.
Yeah, you're hit the nail on the head there, Romain. There's so many factors and dynamics, and that's why it's such an exciting spot. I know we've covered a lot here. We've talked about the operations and some of the milestones. What would you say is kind of the major catalysts? Obviously, Q3 numbers coming out. What are some things to keep an eye on from the investment community or viewers here that are watching SATO Technologies?
Well, it's look at what we're going to announce about like a growth plan. Now we are 100% self-mining into our centers. We have opportunities everywhere to be able to go, and then look out for this. And in the meantime, follow us not only on our quarterly financials, but also our publishing on every operational update every month. We are at this stage where the market is almost there, but maybe not there. So we were prepared for that for the past 2 years since we were listed in 2021. That was our goal. When we went listed, it was the beginning of the bear or the last tranche of the bull. So we were not able to deploy lots of capital at the last bear. Now it's a different story. We've been focusing on this time in history where the market is going to align, and we've created a company that is very stable, strong balance sheet, running 100% self-mining. If you look at the capital we deploy to go where we are probably one of the best miner, if not the best miner, who's publicly listed. We've done it with a conscience of not to dilute our shareholders for no reason. And yes, we are a small one. Yes, we are a junior, but there will be a junior like us who will qualify to senior and go to the next level. And I believe we are one of these companies. So look at us. It's not done yet. It's not finished. Lots of things can happen. But we are at the right spot at the right moment. That's what we are focusing on and working on and dedicated on, not only for the past 6 years, but I hope for the next 20 years.
Yeah, it's a bright future ahead. And I'm glad you mentioned the listing there, because that actually was going to be my final question. Is a NASDAQ uplist something you guys are planning for and preparing for, or is that still kind of off in the distance?
Look, it's in front of us in the options we have to deploy more capital. I can tell you if we are doing it, we'll do it. It's in front of us. Like many have done before, we hope we'll be able to use it in the future.
Perfect. Well, that's great. And we look forward to having you back to discuss some of those Q3 results. I know it's been a super busy time for you guys with all the travel, the halving coming up, obviously the Bitcoin community and news that's breaking headlines, it seems daily now. So we appreciate your time. I'll kick it back to you for any closing thoughts, Romain, but this was a great discussion, and we'll see you in a few weeks, I'm sure, for some exciting Q3 self-mining results.
Cool. Happy to be here for Q3. I could also invite, if you want, Fanny. She's our COO.
Awesome.
She used to be our former CFO. And she's extremely great at explaining simply the financials and the rationale of the financials behind publicly listed miners. So it's interesting.
Great. Well, we look forward to it, and for sure we can welcome both of you. So you guys, thanks so much for the time today. If you're still watching, make sure you hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to join. We'll leave SATO Technologies information linked in the comment section below. And if you have any questions for Romain or the rest of the team, specifically it sounds like financial questions, leave those in the comment section and we'll make sure to add them to the next interview list. So Romain, thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.